Hi plant friends, today I've got a tour of my orchid collection. First I'll start with the orchid shelf, we'll move on to the IKEA cabinet, and we'll see what's in my living room. First we've got the Phalaenopsis gigantea. Now this baby has bloomed a number of times. This is her second spike since I've had her in my collection, and that spike has branched. She's working on some new leaves. Now this leaf is dying back and I don't like to pull the leaves off. I leave them until they fall off themselves. If you make a wound, it could cause some infection, so I try to let it fall off naturally. This beauty, it's gorgeous. I picked this up at Mississauga Greenhouse and it was only about $5. Fantastic blooms on this one. I'll insert a picture. The spike is here and it is extending, so that's great. We'll have a little bloom on that. I guess it's a Schilleriana cross. The flower is actually really pretty. Look at this beauty. Oh, I just love the way this one grows. Nice and wispy and does have a little cakey. Let's see the name on this one. It's Phalaenopsis. It does need a little bit of watering, but I like my orchids to dry out completely before watering. I find that helps to cut back on root rot. This beauty back here has two spikes and it's Linden Mix Zebra 823. Wow, this is such a beautiful orchid. I'm going to insert a picture of the bloom. Plant friends, if you can get any one of those linden mix, it's a great idea. Those orchids are fantastic. This beauty is also bloomed for me. Let's see the name on this one. Phalaenopsis Tabasco Tex. Oh, such a beautiful plant. And easy to care for. I've got a majority of my orchids in bark. This one I find that it requires a little bit more humidity, so I've added some sphagnum moss. And the Phalaenopsis gigantea also has some sphagnum moss on top. It's a mixture of sponge rock, orchid bark, and charcoal. Below we've got a few more. This is Falbellina. Oh, we've had some troubling times with this one. A little bit of sunburn. These are in a south-facing window, so we do get a lot of bright light, especially in the summer. And in the winter on those bright winter days, especially in January. Right now it's kind of gloomy. We haven't seen any sun, so that's why I've added grow lights to supplement. And they get about, say, 12 hours of grow light each month, per day, excuse me. And this one is Phalaenopsis KS Happy Eagle by Phalaenopsis Bear King, LD Bear King. What a beauty. And it's also fragrant. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see pictures of all of these orchids when they're in bloom. Check out the beautiful leaves on this Phalaenopsis Venus Lindinii. Wow. The muddling is scrumptious. One of my favorite features in orchids is when they have muddled leaves. Her spike has lengthened quite a bit and she's got some spent flowers, but I don't cut the spikes because these can be sequential and continue to bloom. little flower bud there, but I hope it does not blast and I can see an active grow tip. So I'm hopeful we'll have some blooms on that. What a gorgeous beauty. Here we've got the Phalaenopsis, Germain Vincent. This one's a cross between Speciosa and Violacea. Wow, if you can get your hands on one of these, definitely do. She's got a lot of spikes and always in bloom, a reliable blooming orchid. Very fragrant as well. Here's another Bellina. It's the Bellina apple, red apple. Bellina red apple. It's a sunny spot plant, friends, so they do get quite scorched in the summer when the blinds are open, so something to be mindful of. The name on this one, I'll put it on the screen. I don't remember at the moment, but it is crossed with Gigantea, so you've got those big leaves. I actually knocked this one over, or it got really top heavy, and I passed and it fell over and broke a leaf. It's working on some spikes, got a number of spikes, and the blooms are really pretty. The guy could use a repotting. Oops. Oh dear. Okay, that's what I was talking about, top heavy. Oh, I'll need to, this one I'll need to repot. She's sort of growing out of the pot. She's got some beautiful roots, and that's the name on it. Okay, and the leaves are nice and big. There was a time when I used to collect orchids that all had Gigantea in the cross. It's a feature that I like in the orchids when they have big leaves. Okay, the mess is not too bad, and it gives us an idea of what the roots look like. Very happy. Okay, stay still. Okay, I should really think about putting this one into a clay pot, something a little bit more sturdy. Okay, let's keep this guy on the ground for now until I reset it back on the shelf. Now, this beauty is, Falconary, Joy Canary. Yeah, something like that. I'll put it on the screen. Oh, it's such a beautiful yellow blooming orchid. Fantastic. I'll put a picture on the screen of that one. We've got another cross with Gigantea, and this beauty a little bit dehydrated. I'll need to ensure that this one's watered a little bit more. I've actually tucked it in coco coir as an experiment to see how my orchids do growing in this particular type of media. Oh, actually, here's the name. Okay, Phalaenopsis Yophon Boss. And that one's also crossed with Gigantea, which I really enjoy. a gigantea cross, a gigantea, and a gigantea cross down there. And is this one crossed with a gigantea? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, now that this beauty is back in its spot, let's have a look at the Cymbidiums. I keep these beside the door. It's drafty and cool, and Cymbidiums like it a little bit cooler. So I'm trying that out to see how that works for this beauty. That's the name on that one. And it has a little bit of variegation. If you remember in the unboxing video, these did not have the best root system, but boy, they've really thrived in the short while that I've repotted them and put them in new media. Okay, let's see. It is working on the little new growth down there. Okay. And we've got still a little new growth right there as well. Okay, so right beside the door where it's nice and drafty, where they like it cool. This one's Phalaenopsis gigantea. Yes, another gigantea. I picked this one up at the Orchid show earlier this year, and it's grown nicely. This is a new leaf that it's working on, the older leaf. When I acquired it, it was a bit beaten up, and I got it at a discount from the seller. It's a big beauty. I paid less than 50 bucks for the plant. Just a fantastic deal on this one. I would have regretted leaving that one behind if I didn't pick it up at the Orchid show. And over here we've got Phalaenopsis Orchid Whirl. I'm thinking this one needs to be watered a little bit more often. The leaves a little bit scrunched. I'm just going to leave it alone and let it naturally work its way out of there. It is in one of those orchid pots, so it's nice and airy, lots of air movement, but when it's in that type of condition, I've got to maintain watering to ensure that it grows properly. It is working on a spike, so that's going to be lovely to have some orchid blooms in the middle of winter. Back here, I've got the Zygopetalum. This one's a spent bloom. The blooms are just about going out, but gorgeous plant. And I've actually divided this one since I purchased it about 2 years ago. They grow fairly nicely, and the spike never cut it because they continue to bloom. They're sequential bloomers. The trick to keeping this one in bloom is to give it a lot of water. They like to stay moist. Now let's take a look at the orchids in the IKEA cabinet. We'll start with the top shelf, another Phalaenopsis bellina, one of my favorite blooms in the orchid family. Such a pretty little darling. I can't get enough of these plants. In the back, we've got the Phalaenopsis michelitzii. I'll include a picture of this one. The bloom is really stunning. It's a mixture of white or yellow, a creamy color. It's very pretty on an orchid. We also have the Phalaenopsis indigo violacea. Oh, the tag is stuck in this one. Let's see, violacea indigo. Very pretty. And we've got a pollinated flower bud here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. Plant friends, I've bitten off more than I can chew by pollinating this, but we're just going to go with the flow. It's got a number of spikes, 4 spikes on this plant, so I'm hoping all will bloom at the same time. Will be spectacular. Phalaenopsis schilleriana really enjoys it in the cabinet. This one actually has struggled with me for quite a while. And since I've put it in the cabinet where it's getting more humidity, it's grown a lovely new leaf. Just fantastic. Plant friends, schilleriana has been quite a challenge. I was about to give up on that plant. Thank goodness I've got a cabinet. We've got the Phalaenopsis tetraspis green. This one's a new addition to my collection, and since I've received it, it hasn't stopped blooming. Again, this one is on a sequential spike. So that's lovely. Don't cut the spikes until they die back completely. Look at those leaves, and it's working on some gorgeous roots. The orchids in here are a little bit dry right now. They could use some water, but I'm going to wait for a couple more days before I water. Oh, let's fix this guy back. Okay, good. This one is Cornucervi alba. I also picked this up from the Orchid show last February, and it's growing very nice. The spikes are new. This one's a new spike, that's an old spike. Yes, and it's working on a new leaf. A very easy plant to care for. On the second shelf, let's start with a Tineshin Fly Eagle. Look at how many spikes this baby's got. What a lovely beauty. I'll insert a picture. She was in bloom not too long ago, and a majority of these spikes had flowers on them. It was a spectacular show, plant friends. Now this beauty has never bloomed. And you would think with all this happy roots that it would have given me some flower spikes, but nothing yet. It's a Phalaenopsis cornucervi red. Plant friends, if you know how to make this plant bloom, comment below and let me know. I've tried everything. I've tried cold, leaving it in a cooler spot. That hasn't done anything. I've given it full sun, and that hasn't done anything. It just seems to enjoy growing in all conditions, but no blooms. And we've got the Perminia xanthina. This one I purchased from Crystal Star, maybe this summer or the summer before. And it's working on some new growth. It's a new one for me in my collection. So it must have been this summer. It was $20 for this beauty. So I'm hoping it's going to give me some flower spikes since it's got a new growth. So stay tuned to my Instagram to see if I have uploaded any pictures of that little beauty. Now this one's also crossed with Gigantea, Phalaenopsis gigantea by Mituo Sun. Lovely leaves on this one. I had it in a more sunny spot over the summer, so she is a little bit bleached. But what a vigorous growing orchid. Look at all those roots. Just fantastic, and lots of roots in the pot. Now this orchid back here supposedly is supposed to be variegated, and I had a bit of a battle with spider mites. One of the things about the cabinet, if it's too dry, that's when I get spider mites. So I've added some humidity tray to keep up the humidity in here to fight those spider mites. It's Phalaenopsis Aphrodite, and it's supposedly variegated, some variegation on some of the leaves, but I think this is more variegated. The variegated are more pronounced in the winter. So let's see if we get it. Actually, it is working on a new leaf. So let's see if that's even more variegated. Here we've got a Phalaenopsis, Sweet Memory Leodoro. Oh, I love this orchid. It's such a beauty. I think it was in bloom when I purchased it, but it hasn't bloomed since. Hasn't bloomed since, and it is working on some roots, but the leaf is a bit thin. It could use a little bit more watering. And plant friends, I haven't watered these in a while, so that's a definite sign that these plants need water, and you can do this for your orchids to gauge when they need watering. I don't like to overwater, so I like to push it a little bit to keep them on the dry side. Here we've got the Phalaenopsis Samara. And this is a fairly new orchid in my collection. I had it before and it passed away, so I've repurchased it and it's working on a new leaf. So nice and happy. And look at this little guy. Phalaenopsis Harjin Fancy. A vigorous growing orchid. It's new to my collection. You might have seen the unboxing, working on those beautiful blood red flowers. I can't wait to see what it looks like in person. And there's a lot of delicious roots in the pot. Next, we've got Phalaenopsis Princess Kailani, which is Violacea by Ambonensis. This one's bloomed a number of times. It's a cute blooming orchid. 2 spikes on this one. It does have a spent leaf. Let's see. Yes. This is when I like to remove the leaves, plant friends, when they've fallen off on their own. Never pull them off to cause injury. It's best to do it naturally. Let's see what we've got here. First is the leafless orchids. Oh, these guys are such a treat to grow. This one's working on a little spike right there, so I should have some blooms shortly. And we've got some new growth in the center. It used to have a leaf. It's since fallen off. And here we've got a little spike coming. This one's a spent spike, so I can cut that off. Even for the spikes, I like to wait until they completely dry up before cutting them off. These I like to water in the morning, giving them enough time to dry out by night. I just don't want any rots with these orchids, so I like to water them first thing in the morning. Just a little soak, and then they can relax for the rest of the day. We've got the Phalaenopsis Sidera japonica. At first I was worried about this setup with a pot and mounted, but it seems to work for the orchid. And since I've had it in my collection, it's grown 2 new leaves. I purchased this orchid back in March at the Orchid show in Burlington. Now this one's a new addition as well. I also acquired this one at the Orchid show. It's the Leafless Grassa. And I'm trying my hand at this to see how it goes. I'm not sure if that's a sheath for a spike or not, but We'll see how that goes. This one that's working on some flower spike and buds is the Phalaenopsis Joy Fairy Tale. Oh, a beautiful orchid. And I've got 2 orchids in one pot. Plant friends, when I love an orchid, I tend to get multiples. And it's in one of those orchid pots as well. I soak these every couple of days. This shelf stays a bit more humid. I don't have a fan set up on the shelf, and these are for the plants that really like it humid. This is a little no ID that I picked up at a grocery store and has a lot of beautiful roots. It's actually stuck in the pot. All the roots have been attached to the pot. I can't wait for it to bloom to see what it looks like. I can't remember if it was in bloom when I purchased it or not. If I do have a bloom, I'll insert a picture of it, and most likely I'll have it on Instagram. This one is the Mini Mark, and plant friends, I purchased this one as a tiny little baby, and finally it's giving a little flower spike in the bottom. We'll see if it makes it. You know what, it's progress. This orchid came and it was really tiny. I was surprised that the seller would sell such a tiny orchid as blooming size. I think I've had this orchid for about 4 years now, so I wasn't pleased at all with getting such a tiny plant in the mail when it was described as blooming size. My vanilla orchid, wow, I've been very pleased with this one. I'm trying to wrap her around the totem pole as much as possible. It's a fairly small totem pole, so it's quite interesting to see how this is going to work out. But so far, so good. I like to keep this one really moist. She's a little bit crunchy right now, so it's time for a watering. But overall, the orchid's very happy. Okay, let's get in the back. We've got a few more orchids back here, at least 2 more. This one is a mini Cattleya. Now this one has prompted me to be more interested in those mini Cattleyas. I don't have, I think actually this is the only Cattleya I've got in my collection. And it's the Tangerine Mini Sun. Tangerine Fire Mini Sun. Gorgeous blooms on this one. And since it's been in my collection, these are 2 new growths that it's put out. And some lovely roots down there. Any flower sheath? No, nothing. Okay, but I'm quite happy with growing this since I don't have a lot of Cattleyas in my collection. Oh, here's one more. And this one, I thought it wasn't going to make it when I received it in the mail. It's the Cattleya schelleriana. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we've got 3 new growth points or 4 new growth points since I've unboxed her. And lots of beautiful roots. Look at that. Very impressed with the way this one's recovered after being shipped. Even the old pseudobulbs look like they've plumped up. They were so shriveled, plant friends. I was so worried, but it's pulled through nicely. All we need is some flower spikes and some flowers on this beauty. Plant friends, I also have a few orchids in the living room. Sorry about the lighting. It's been a very gloomy day. I wished it would have been a little bit more sunny to feature these plants. but it's Vlogmas and I've got a time crunch. I need to get these videos in and complete my goal of having videos for you for at least the first 25 days in December. Nice mottled leaves on this beauty. It used to be in the IKEA cabinet, but with this flower spike, it's not able to fit. It's Phalaenopsis Dutch Lady. And the thing about this one, I find that it grows 2 leaves and then it drops the last one. Grows 2 leaves, then drops the last one. That's a growing trait for this one. It's quite interesting. And I've got it soaking right now. This is how I like to water this orchid. I need to repot it. As you can see, it's been since in here since 2019. So repotting is needed. Normally repotted in March. So I plan, friends, I should do that. March 2024 for the next repotting. We should do a video on that. Okay, and follow me on Instagram so you can see what this looks like when it blooms. On my coffee table, which I always call my orchid table, there's a few more orchids. A mottled leaf beauty, and this one I picked up at Calisanti in the summer, so I do remember this one. And of course, I love this mason jar. Such a cool idea. And it makes it easy to water the orchid. You just have to dunk it when it's dry and then just put it right back in. Pretty cool. I'll most likely need to repot this orchid sometime soon because it still has that center cork, which sometimes hangs on to water for a little bit longer than I would like. But I should do that in the spring. Look at these variegated beauties. It's the Phalaenopsis Zygopetalum. And look at that, we've got a flower spike there, and I think we've got, let's be careful. And 2 more flower spikes on this side. Pretty cool. I'm excited about that. I believe this is the 3rd time these are blooming for me since I've had them in my collection. I picked up these 2 orchids at Valley View. I love that the nurseries are bringing out specialty orchids, especially variegated ones. I really enjoy that. Here are 2 more gorgeous orchids, 2 in 1 pot. Again, I absolutely love this because it is a pyloric orchid, and I've got 2 different types of pyloric going on in this pot. I actually acquired this from Crystal Star. It's and I purchased the plants like years apart. First I found this one, and then second, this beauty. It's a triple lip pyloric. Just stunning. And as well, it's a sequential bloomer. So it's bloomed quite a bit, and it's continuing to lengthen the spine. So exciting. I've got pictures of this on Instagram where it's in full bloom, and I'll insert that for you. Thanks for watching, plant friends. So remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and follow me on Instagram at Life of Bellina.